But I wanted to give an explanation as to why we're making these decisions, or I will be recommending these decisions. They're not in stone until the board votes for approval of these. But first and foremost, this decision really reflects one district. Instead of 6 buildings with that independent contractor feel, it's more of one district and how that we're looking at our kids. The focus is on the academic and the emotional needs of kids, and it comes at no cost to the district. And there's a few things I want to say about that because it hasn't been voted on yet. I'm reducing 1.5 people from central office. We'll have, when I was here as a principal, we had 12 people in central office. Next year, basically, we're going to have 4 or 5. So with that said, we're able to capture the amount of money to add an administrator to the high school to really address the needs of the kids. But while I'm talking about that, I do want to bring up, I had gotten some questions the other night at the board meeting, after the board meeting, about 2 contracts that were up for vote, and that's Mr. Pinnell and Mrs. Benson's contracts of, why are they getting this big hefty raise? There's no raise there. For the past 2 years, both of them have gotten supplemental contracts. One for John to be the testing coordinator, which when I was here as principal was a whole separate administrative position. And then one, I see someone shaking their head, it used to be an administrative position. That's benefits at 24% plus a salary of $27,000 is what it used to be, probably $40,000 of that. And then Lee's position was paid for through the ESC, which is called the School to Work Coordinator. And it's for our special ed students. We're required to do that by federal government. We were paying either $16,000 or $18,000 a year just for that. So each of them have received the last 2 years of supplemental for $8,000 each. And I kept those as supplementals to see if they'd be able to do it, because it's things they have to do after hours, going out to where these kids work, things like that. And with John, it's early in the morning when he comes in. So, and now it will become part of their job description since they've proven they've been able to do that. So if someone is saying this was this big hefty raise, not the case. For us, we're paying $16,000 instead of about $70,000 for the 2 positions. So anytime that we can spend 16 and save 30 or 40, well, you bet we're going to do that because that money is going back to kids and to support staff. So part of the decision about moving administrators is really, it's twofold. One is the academics and one is to meet the emotional needs of our kids. Just in the past 2 years, we've had 2 high school kids commit suicide. Both of them were early into their sophomore year, just out of the freshman class. 2 committed suicide. We've also had multiple suicide attempts. And a lot of people will say, well, you know, we've had these things before. Why are you bringing this out in front of the community? You know what? It doesn't matter to me if we've had it before or not. We can't sweep these things under the carpet any longer. We have to pull that back and we have to address the issues that we're facing head on. We're just not about educating the academic side of the students. We're about educating the whole child. And that's why I'm bringing this up today, because all of us equally have to pay close attention to this. Additionally, one of the major issues we're having with our 8th and 9th graders in particular, and high school kids, are party out at people's houses. And I don't know if it's that parents go out and they don't realize what their kids are going to do, but our parents have to start paying close attention to this. When they leave, perhaps tell the neighbor that, hey, call me while I'm out at dinner if something happens. But the bottom line is, to leave these houses and be gone all night long or half the night, the kids are using these areas to have parties, and that's where half of our issues are taking place. So I think we would all agree, when you take 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds and you put them in a situation they're not ready for, how can we not expect to have some of the issues that we're having? We have to watch that as a community. Also, lately, we've had, I think it's around 15 kids that have either been charged with or suspended for drug and alcohol possession. And just those 15 are in 8th and 9th grade. So we're having a lot of issues in that particular area. Academic-wise, some of you may not even know this. Springboro Intermediate is known as a moderate C building, which means basically the growth isn't there that needs to be there. We're falling short. Now, while the sixth grade teachers, they take full ownership of that. That's just not a sixth grade issue. And since we're talking to elementary folks today, that's a preschool through 5 issue that we have to look at. Part of our problem is when you have 2 elementary buildings separate, and we no longer have the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, when you have the 2 buildings separate, none of us at the elementaries have subgroups. Although we have special ed kids, gifted kids, economically disadvantaged, until they come together at Springboro Intermediate, we have no subgroups. So in that 6th grade year, we have special ed, we have gifted, and we have socioeconomically disadvantaged. If they don't make certain growth based on state measures, then we get dinged on those indicators. That's what's happening to SI. So as we make these shifts, we have to be looking at what they need academically as well. So what do we need to succeed? Clearly this discussion today is focused on administrators. So based on what I have here, I don't want you to think, well, wow, he just thinks all we need is administrators. No. Good teachers are the most important thing, but strong leaders are as equally as important. But we have to have administrators who have positive relationships and that understand the needs of our students, staff, and parents. We also need some strong transition plans from building to building, particularly from the 8th grade building, the junior high, to the high school. We can't just send the kids based on, well, here's all their academic information, because that's all that's important. If you know there's an emotional issue, if they're getting grief counseling in 7th and 8th grade, they need to get it when they get to the high school as well. We can't drop all those things when they get to the high school. So that's part of what we're looking at. And also, we need a full-time counselor at Springboro Intermediate. Right now, they have a part-time counselor. That 6th grade year is pivotal at that age. It's very important developmentally. They're becoming teenagers, they're maturing. And this day and time with social media and the things that these kids have to connect into, it's so hard for them emotionally to be able to handle that. They need someone there to be able to help them with that. So what are the proposed changes? The current junior high principal, Mr. Aker, the proposal that the board will vote on March 10th is for him to be moved as the freshman principal. Now, when we thought of this idea, that's just not a job that we can give a rookie administrator that's never been an administrator. It takes them too long to figure out what they're doing. We're going to have 2,000 or more kids at our high school next year, this building that we're in now. We need someone as the freshman class principal who has proven experience, has great relationships with kids, understands the curriculum, and understands how to work effectively with parents during hard times. That's Mr. Aker. He's extremely strong in these areas, and that's why we need him to move as the freshman principal of Springboro High School. We're also going to have a counselor designated just to the freshman class as well. Right now, when the kids enter the high school, they come in known on the first letter of their last name. When there's 2,000 kids involved, we can't let these 14 and 15-year-old freshmen come in and just unleash them in the size of a high school. That's the size of a lot of college campuses, for what it's worth. We have to have a connection for their parents and the students so that we can watch over them a little bit better and keep better tabs on what's going on and what they're exposed to. The junior high, John Franks, will move from SI to the junior high as principal. He's done a fine job at Springboro Intermediate. They've actually put 80-minute blocks into Springboro Intermediate this year. The board approved a new teacher to be added last year, which gave them what they needed to have 4 blocks at each grade level, and each block is 80 minutes. So they're still working through that, but I feel it's been a really strong piece for them. They developed our new homework policy. They've looked at the zero policy. I mean, they've made some really strong gains at Springboro Intermediate working with John. Diane and Stacy will be moving to Springboro Intermediate. Due to the fact they are a moderate C, they need a strong principal. And Diane is our most seasoned. She probably knows more about instruction than any of us. She is going to be able to work with elementary principals as well as secondary principals. I mean, when you look at our principal makeup, we have a lot of new principals, and Diane's been doing it for about 21, 22 years. So she will be at the 6th grade building working with them as well as the other principals as well. I will be proposing that the assistant principal, Tracy Griffin, will be proposed to be the new principal at 5 Points Elementary. I met with their team leaders last night, and they all told me, I asked them, I said, do you want her as principal or do you want me to open the position? And they said, we absolutely want her as principal. So she will be the principal there, and we will be hiring a full-time assistant principal there as well. So just as soon as the board approves her, and I'm confident they will, as long as they approve that, the next day we hope to get the assistant principal's position posted so that we can get that interview process as soon as possible and be able to reach out there and grab someone really strong. So to summarize, basically these administrative changes are within the budget. Will actually probably end up at about $75,000 to the good, which I hope to be able to put that towards more instructional support out in the building. Not necessarily another administrator, but someone out in the building, and that's what I've been hearing particularly from elementary teachers is, you know, we need someone that knows this research, that can come right in and work with us. That was what we need right now. So we're looking at that. I'm getting some prices on that type of thing. Also, you know, these changes will definitely focus on really one district and the whole child. That's something we have to start looking at. With the tragedies taking place around the country, unfortunately very close to us, we have got to take the social and emotional needs of our kids serious, very serious. And I think we do, but hopefully this plan will make it better. So one of the reasons I didn't want to just hire a new administrator from the junior high if Mr. Aker was going to move up. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is you hire someone new, you really don't know anything about them. They don't understand the culture of the district, and they don't know the kids. All of these moves moving forward, Mr. Aker, he's going to know all the freshmen because he has them this year. Plus, he's going to know some of the kids he's had in past years. Mr. Franks will know all of the 7th and 8th grade students. And then, of course, at Mrs. Stacy coming over to the 6th grade building, she's going to know half of the kids that come through there for 2 or 3 years. And then, of course, at 5 Points, all the kids already know Tracy. So in looking at what's best for kids, of having someone in these buildings that's a strong educational leader and that they trust, those are 2 of the most important things we can have if we want to focus on the emotional aspects of kids. Because our kids will come to our administrators. Any questions that you might have? Yes?
What are you cutting in administration?
We are reducing, word cut's so harsh, but unfortunately it's what it is. We are reducing one of our special ed coordinators, and then our coordinator for Title I, 3rd grade guarantee, and resident educator. Mrs. Cook will take on those 3 tasks, resident educator, Title I, and 3rd grade guarantee. I'll still work some with the elementary curriculum, but with my schedule, I can't give it the exact time it needs to be able to go out and spend all day, although it's been a blast. I probably should have been a curriculum director before superintendent. But nonetheless, it has been a ton of fun going out and working with the staff. And I think for me, it's because I was here as a principal, and I didn't like some of the same things that you still are asking me to change now. We're going to get those changed. So it's been a lot of fun in that aspect. But what I'm hearing from teachers is, you know, we really don't need another administrator. We need retired teachers who are excellent teachers to come out and work with us in class and help us get this new learning standards under control. So those are the 2 positions in a long explanation. That's what will be reduced to central office. Anything else? All right, well, what I plan to do is talk with the 5 Point staff who's at the reading camp. I bet most of them already know by now, and the dentist crew, I'd like to talk with them as well, because I am going to be coming out with our treasurer to talk about our financial status. It's not a levy discussion, but to talk about where we're at financially, because I know you guys have a lot of questions about that. And I want to give you more of an explanation as the direction we're going with that as well. So I will be around over the next 2 months. It takes a while to be able to see all of you at once. Unless we do it after work one night, and then we could actually have a full-blown discussion about that. Yes?
Will Mr. Aker just stay with the ninth graders, or will he move with that specific class?
He will stay just with the ninth graders. Yes, he will. And he'll have a relationship with the junior high as well, so he can stay connected there, so that when the kids come over, they have a connection with Mr. Aker.
So he'll go back and forth between eighth and ninth?
No, he'll stay at ninth only. He will be a high school administrator, so for example, all these evening activities the administrators have with 2,000 kids, he'll take his fair share of those also. But as far as discipline, teachers, things of that nature will be predominantly freshmen, but in a building like this with kids coming in that could take AP courses, there's no way to keep all the freshman kids together. So as much as possible, we will keep them together. Yes?
Is the high school getting another counselor for that ninth grade counselor, or are you taking one of the front counselors?
Right now we have 4.5. If you go out and look at other districts, we have more than what's required. And I know when I say that, people are like, oh, you're kidding me. I mean, we've checked these numbers heavily. We have 4.5. It's usually one counselor per 500. So in that particular area, we're pretty well suited.
So one of our current counselors will become a ninth grade?
That's the plan, yes. Kyle and Andrea have been working on that, but yes, that would be the plan. Any other questions? Yes?
5 points getting assistant.
Yes, 5 points will have a full-time assistant principal. The board will vote on this on March 10th. Hopefully on March 11th or 12th, we will post that position immediately. We have to get out early to get somebody good. Yes?
Is Brooke staying at the junior high?
Yes, yeah, there'll be no other administrative changes other than the ones there. The high school assistants stay put, Brooke stays put. Those will be the administrative changes that I've presented today. Any other questions? Yes?
A lot of that was saying that you're bridging, like SI to now bridging to the junior high and use junior high to the high school. Are you looking at a looping situation? Are we gonna look at this again in 2 years when you're bridging again, or?
We really just need to wait to see how the kids respond to it and pull the data. Is not always test scores. There's a lot of, and trust me, we're getting a lot of data that's not test scores that's eye-opening. So it's things like that we need to talk about, and I hope the district leadership team and the building leadership teams will start talking about that, because a lot of these ideas have come out of those two teams. So if you guys have other ideas that you think will work very well, I'd love to hear them. Absolutely. Next year at the junior high, they're going to have 60-minute periods. The SI already has 80-minute periods. So that just adds more time to instruction typically. But even then, with 80 minutes, they're still working through how that works best. Yes?
Well, speaking of suggestions, it would be nice at junior high at least to have some consistency. We have had a lot of turnover of our administration, and that affects the staff. And so, you know, that's just a suggestion.
No, I agree 100%. And I think the board will agree with that as well, as will the other administrators. Just in this case, with some of the emotional situations we're running into with our freshmen, we needed an administrator that's very strong in those areas. And that just is not a job that we can hire someone who's never been an administrator. Jimmy's been an administrator for about 10 years. So we needed someone extremely strong that's going to be able to handle that freshman curriculum, the parents, all that goes with it. That's what we needed there. And so he was the natural fit for it. It took 2 months to get him to agree to it, but he was the natural fit for it because he's really enjoyed the junior high. I am going to be around to talk with all. I'm always getting comments about our financial state and what we're going to do next. But I am going to be around to talk to you all about that. During the day, I can't talk about levies. You guys know that. But where we stand in terms of our finances, I do want to come out and explain that. So the treasurer and I, over the next couple of months, will be out to speak with you. We may even have more of a larger meeting like this and get some feedback to you, because I know the board would like to hear that as well. And if we do something like that, it would have to be after hours.
You said that sixth grade's going to have a full-time counselor.
Yes.
What will happen with Clear Creek?
We are going to add the other half. What I'm hoping, and we're doing our budgeting process now for the 5-year forecast. It gets updated in May. I'm hoping we add a full-time counselor to the district, which then would mean Clear Creek would get another half and SI would get another half. So that's the goal. That way we would have at least a full-time counselor in every single building. The high school has 4.5. Based on standards, 1 per every 500 students. They're in very good shape. Now, I know we could probably never have enough counselors at the high school because the parents would like to be able to meet with them one-on-one, but there's no way financially that any school district around could really afford to have something like that. We'd need 15 or 20 counselors. And it still probably wouldn't be enough because there are a lot of questions about programming studies. But at 6th grade, if you're gonna look at the developmental appropriateness of kids, we could certainly use one at the Early Learning Center. But we absolutely need one in that time they're changing through maturity at the 6th grade building. That's where we catch a lot of these issues that are coming up. Anything else? All right, well, thank you for coming. Have a safe trip home.